Imagine a world where the beauty of nature is abounding. The world is green and bright, and the skies are blue. The water is clean, and every breath is refreshing. Now, imagine a world where there isn't a tree to be found for miles. The water is brown and murky, and the sky is covered by a thick layer of smog, which makes each breath sludgy and difficult. These are two completely different worlds, but depending on how we care for our Earth, both are possibilities. That is why today, my proposition is that garbage recycling should be made mandatory. Our world has been in decline for many years now. As a society, we continue to see the warning signs of things to come, but we continue to ignore them. We often convince ourselves that the world isn't in any significant danger due to pollution, and one person doing small things to keep the earth clean can't possibly make much of a difference. We allow the inconvenience of going green to stop us from making the necessary steps to help keep our earth clean. But one day it will catch up to us. One day we will see the drastic effects we have had on the earth, and by then it may be too late. Throughout this speech, I will be discussing the ill, blame, and cure regarding my proposition, as well as the costs and benefits that go along with it. A massive amount of trash is produced each year by Americans alone. Most of that garbage ends up sitting in a landfill or floating in our oceans. According to Alina Bradford in her article, Pollution Facts and Types of Pollution, written on February 28, 2018, she says, in 2014, Americans produced 258 million tons of solid waste. A little over half of that waste, 136 million tons, was gathered in landfills. Only about 34% was recycled or composted. This large amount of trash that is being wasted rather than being recycled and reused is causing big problems. According to Help Save Nature's article, Compelling Reasons Why We Should Recycle, last accessed on May 1st, 2020, the various goods of necessity that the numerous factories and industries are churning out are not only exhausting our natural resources at an alarming rate, but they are also generating wastes that are the source of serious environmental issues. These issues include global warming, air pollution, water pollution, and the waste of energy resources. Now that I have discussed the ill for my proposition, I will discuss where the blame falls. The blame for this ill is attitudinal, in that individuals cannot overcome the lack of immediate benefits or repercussions long enough to complete simple recycling tasks that could greatly improve our environment. According to Aaron Shoemaker's article, The Psychology Behind Why People Don't Recycle, updated on August 3rd, 2016, she says, it's that true paradox. Individual behavior is both essential and inconsequential. While we are going to need everyone's help if we are going to stop the damaging effects humans have on the earth, individual actions can often feel useless. Benefits and repercussions from recycling, or lack thereof, can't be seen until many years after the fact. This makes it very hard for people to become and stay motivated to recycle. Now that I have explained where the blame for this issue lies, I will explain the cure for the ill by presenting the plan of action and the solvency. There is a rather simple solution for motivating people to recycle. Make recycling mandatory. If recycling was mandatory, it would no longer be a task where benefits and repercussions are not seen. If a significant tax was imposed on all garbage and the price was determined based on the amount of garbage an individual disposes of, but recycling was tax-free and a tax reducer, it would greatly encourage recycling. People have proven over and over again that they are unable to get over the psychological barriers of recycling. But by making recycling mandatory and by imposing penalties on non-recycled materials, people would be more inclined to overcome that psychological barrier and recycle. Although this plan might not make everyone recycle, by creating a tax on non-recycled materials and making recycling mandatory for everyone, it will increase the number of individuals who recycle, and therefore help keep our earth clean and prevent pollution. Now that I presented the plan of action, I will explain the costs and benefits of this plan. One cost that making recycling mandatory would have is that people do not like taxes, and there would probably be a great deal of pushback. There are always going to be people who do not feel like recycling is necessary, and these people would likely be very vocally against it. Another cost that making recycling mandatory would have is that the equipment to determine how much waste is being disposed of would be expensive. This plan would require the weighing of trash before it was disposed of, and constructing portable equipment to do this would likely cost an extravagant amount. The final cost that making recycling mandatory would have is that it would be a very time-consuming task to enforce and figure out how much each person owed. One benefit that making recycling mandatory would have is that it would increase the amount of recycled materials and increasing this amount will allow us to not produce as much as we would have before, and therefore lessen pollution that is caused by the production of these items. Another benefit that making recycling mandatory would have is it would help save the lives of animals. According to the Answers Drive, last updated on November 21st, 2019, over 1 million seabirds and 100,000 sea mammals are killed by pollution every year. By recycling, we are decreasing the amount of animals that are killed. Throughout my speech, I have discussed the ill, blame, and cure regarding my proposition, as well as the costs and benefits that went along with it. The proposition was that garbage recycling should be made mandatory. So if you want to be living in a world where nature is flourishing rather than struggling for your next breath in a cloud of smog, maybe you should consider accepting my proposition and asking that garbage recycling be made mandatory.